Hi, it's Gadget UK here again. Just a short video here. I start all my videos saying that and they end up being quite long videos, but anyway, hopefully a reasonably short video here on the DivIDE 2K14. As you can see, this has come from Lotharek in Poland. I'll post a link, obviously you've got his URL there, but I'll post links and things and links to some of these, the PDF and various other things in the description to this video. If you've got a ZX Spectrum, and it doesn't really matter which model you've got, whether you've got the 48K, the Plus 2 or a Plus 2A or a Plus 3, this will work with all of them. The various manufacturers of these, it's kind of gone open source, I think, I don't know the origins. It seems to be, I think it's Velasoft again. I could be wrong, correct me if I'm wrong. I've seen the code, some of the codes in SourceForge, and on the Velasoft website he's got links there to all the source code and stuff, and the different firmware versions. It's a compact flash adapter for a Spectrum. Just goes in the expansion port, as you can see. Allows you to connect a compact flash card. Now there's a few things, this is the second time I've done this video. I didn't upload the previous version, obviously, just to give this a bit of justice really, because I felt like I skirted over too many things and didn't mention enough things, and perhaps focused on one or two things I shouldn't have done perhaps for too long. So hopefully it's going to be a bit more balanced this video. I'm not going to take this off, and that was one of the snags I ran into when I did the last one, and it caught me unaware really. It's very tight, they're very tight fit, these. Now originally I ordered a 2K11 from Lotharek, and yeah, shipping brilliant, quality in the build and everything, fantastic little boards, really well made. He's a very talented guy, and as I say, shipping was really good. I received it within about, I think he shipped it on a Monday morning, and I received it Friday that same week from Poland, so that was really good. Similar to this, the only difference between the 2K11 and 2K14 is the 2K14's got the joystick interface there. Obviously the board, you know, it's a completely different board design, it's a different colour. I think the other board was black, and you've got more, I think there's more functionality built into this. You've got I think 4, it could be 6 actually, I can't quite remember. I think there's certainly multiple firmware versions, you know, within the EEPROM, so you can select using the jumpers what you want to boot. Now standard, I'll try and keep this simple, I'm not going to ramble on too much about the different firmwares, but at standard you've got something called Firmware, and I'll show you that in a minute. And it's just, you know, it's an operating system effectively that allows you to, when you press the NMI button there, to you know, it causes a non-maskable interrupt. It runs some software on there, you know, it stops whatever you're doing on the Spectrum, and you get like a little menu, and you can navigate the file system on there. It's FAT16, so there's long support, I think it's 2 gig capacity. I guess while we're on the subject, we'll talk about the cards as well. I'll come back to my 2K11 that I ordered and why I've now got a 2K14, but yeah, the cards, one of the things Lotharek says is, you know, it's worth getting a good quality SanDisk card, and it's got to be a genuine one because you're getting compatibility with the cards. Now when I first got my 2K11, it didn't work. I connected it up, it was very, very difficult to connect it, and part of that, I don't really want to show you, to be honest, because I'm going to have to take it off. I don't know, you can just about see there, there's a pin that goes through the black, you know, the connector there, and that pin just protrudes a bit at the top and a bit at the bottom. So when you come to put it in a Plus 2 like this that's never had one of these connected, you end up, and you can just about see it there, I just shaved a tiny notch out the top and bottom of the case. Now the first time when I got the 2K11 I didn't do that, and it was really difficult to get it to fit. I think it was just unlucky with that particular one he sent out. The pin was just a bit more protruding than perhaps it would have been normally, but because I hadn't shaved a little gap there for the little pin at the top and the bottom, there's no way it would go in, and it was probably not in correct. When I look at this now, this is in all the way, and I think previously, certainly the first time I connected it, probably wasn't all the way in, and then I guess, you know, it's probably no surprise it didn't work. And from there on in, I just had all sorts of problems. It just wouldn't work. I didn't actually manage to get a single game loaded from it. It was doing all sorts of weird things. Sometimes it would boot and it would show what was on the card, and other times it wouldn't. In fact, most of the time it wouldn't. Sometimes you get coloured things on the screen, coloured blocks, coloured borders. It would just get stuck in a reset loop, all sorts of weird things. Garbage on the, you know, when you're looking at the list of files there, which I'll show you in a minute, it was just all garbage. with all, all the border and everything was fine, and the menu looked okay, but it was just all garbage as if it couldn't read the card. So there was something a bit odd with that, and I was just unlucky, I think. But I do think that potentially, because I didn't shave down the just the bottom part of the case, the top part of the case, just to make sure it fitted properly. That's probably what did it. And you've got to be wary of these. It's one of these, and he's very clear with that on his website, that if you disconnect and reconnect these at all while it's powered up, you're going to destroy it. You'll destroy the CPLD on here. You might even damage the ULA or something on the Spectrum. I don't know whether it's connected directly to the expansion port. Certainly there's a chance of doing some damage there to the Spectrum itself as well. So the one thing I would say about these, they're great, they really are, don't get me wrong. I would hope that when he does a future revision of one of these, perhaps a 2K15 or a 2K16, it'd be really nice to have the facility of a jumper pin header on here, just 2 pins, because I was thinking about this. You'll see what I mean in a minute, but once it's powered on, obviously you don't want to be messing around with the compact flash card. You want to put that in when it's powered off. Yeah, that's the only time you want to do that. Make sure it's totally firmly in. But then in order to get the menu up when it's on, you press this button, and of course, can you see that wobbling? You're putting a bit of pressure on the whole thing and the expansion port and everything, and that's one thing. And it's the same with the joystick port. I would suggest that you get one of these. They're great. You must get one. If you've got Spectrum, you must get one. Don't let me, what I'm saying, put you off, as I did when I filmed this video last time, really, to a degree. If you're going to use the joystick port like this, connect your joystick up first, and in fact consider using an expander, an extender cable, so that you're not, and obviously, and sit sort of relatively, your joystick relatively near to it, so you're not pulling, because the last thing you want to be doing is getting overexcited in a game or something and pulling the cable like that. You're gonna end up damaging something if you're not careful. So that's one point I'll make. And whilst I'm pointing these things out, I haven't had no problems doing this. There were once times, I've pressed this button many times like that, and it's 100% reliable. Not had a single problem with it. But I just can't help but feel that, like, say, if there was a pin header there, what I would do now is I'd get my own little button. I'd wire something onto the inside of the Spectrum, a little push button on the side here, and have the wire coming out the back here with just a little pin header, and just connect it up when it's connected, and therefore I can just press the button on the Spectrum without having to interfere with this at all. Just in the in the benefit, in the interest really of keeping the thing living as long as it can, because I think ultimately you keep pressing this 100,000 times, well, not that many, but thousands of times, something somewhere is going to start to cause a problem, I think, at some point. But that's, it's a minor thing. That may or may not be a problem. I don't want to put anybody off buying one of these, because they're fantastic, and Lotharek's done a really amazing job, as I say, of producing these. So I'll power it up now and I'll show you what's what. So as you can see, when you first switch it on there, it automatically detects what whichever ATA, not I said APA then, ATA, sort of compact flash hard drives you've got there. It's interesting, it says you've got 0 and 1. I don't know whether that's because the firmware will support 2 different compact flash cards, or whether it's looking at partitions, or I honestly haven't got a clue. Well, it can't be partitions because it's actually looking at the drive, isn't it? So yeah, there must be, that firmware must support 2 drives. There must be, maybe there are versions out there by the manufacturers, that support 2 compact flash cards. Anyway, so you press a key, it's detected it obviously, and then it takes you straight to basic. Now the interesting thing here, you'll be wondering, it's like I say, I've got a +2 here. I was expecting it would come up with a +2, menu there, instead of going straight to 48K basic. You can get, and I haven't really looked into this, you can get firmware versions. There's like a patch you can get that will take you straight into 128K mode instead of the 48K mode there with the Amstrad copyright. Obviously, if you've got a 48K Spectrum, it's going to say Sinclair Research or whatever it says. But if I press the NMI button now on the back, you see you get straight to the disk browser. So I'll just move the camera up a bit because you can't quite see the top of the screen there. Apologies for the shaking and stuff there. Right, so yeah, use the arrow keys and you can just navigate the menu here. And this is the SD card that came. I ordered this actually when he sent me the replacement. I sent the old one back and he had a look at it and said, yeah, there's definitely something wrong with it. I'll send you a new one. How about I send you a 2K14 as a free upgrade? So I was like, oh, brilliant, yeah, fantastic. So that was really, really good of him to do that. I didn't need to do that, and I did offer to pay for the CPLD or whatever else, but he was really nice, friendly and upfront about it. And said, look, no worries, I want you to be happy. I'll sort of send this 2K14, and yeah, there's definitely something wrong with the 2K11. So at the same time, I thought, well, sod it, I'll order one of the SanDisk cards he's got, because I had these. Let's see if we can get these on. Yeah, a SanDisk Ultra 2 gig there, and an Extreme 2 gig there, and I had those myself. bought before I got the original 2K11, and I thought, well, you know, I'm not sure that they're going to have anything to do with it. Are they going to work? You know, so I thought, well, you know, it's easier if I buy one of these from Lotharek, which I did. You know, one of these proper SanDisk cards, the one I showed to start with. That's it's 2 gig. It's full. In fact, it might be 4 gig actually, but the petition's 2 gig, and it's full of all of this software you see here, which is really good. It saved me a hell of a lot of messing around trying to find some of this stuff. So I'll just let's load Target Renegade, because that's one of the best games on the Spectrum. Can't not show that really. Where are we? Target Renegade Z80. So you'll see this supports various files. It supports SNAs, Z80s, .tap files, and probably a few others as well. So you just hit enter. That's a Z80, so it's going to load instantly. I won't actually need to do anything. So I'll just turn that down a touch. It's quite loud there. It's really good with the stereo mod that I did. I'm quite pleased with that. So let's just press 5. Music on. Controls 3. So player 1 will do Kempston, because I've got this my cruiser plugged into the joystick interface on the 2K11 at the moment. So I've choose Kempston, and there are dip switches to choose whether you want a Sinclair or Kempston actually on that interface on the back. I've set it to Kempston because Kempston's what I'm liking. Player 2 can just go Sinclair. There we go. Press 1 start. So as you can see, yeah, there you go, sorted, and pretty much instant loading. Like I say, they're reliable, fantastic. Really, it's so much better than messing with tapes. It really is. Right, let's press the NMI button. You'll see you're back to the menu again. Now, if you load another Z80, let's try and find something else. Not sure. Tank Tracks. I think I might have had that actually as a kid. Yeah, I did. Because I remember the Amoeba software OS, alter the names, no. Do you wish to vary? No. Day or night, day. I think this is where you aim, you use the little, you've got a little tank there, and you aim and, you know, get the speed of your shot and stuff to try and hit the tanks at the other side of the map, if I remember. Yeah, you go, you can see the little turret going up on the tank there. God, it's a long time since I played this, it really is. Let's bring back some memories. Let's try that. Velocity. I've got no idea. Let's try 50. 49 maybe. Jeez, I blew myself up. Half my tank's missing now. Anyway, there you go. You get the general sort of feel of that now, how that works. And again, press the NMI button. Let's try something else. Let's try a tape on a .tap image. I'll show you. If I load Psycho Pigs USB, because that's a pretty cool game on Spectrum actually. I quite like that. I'm hoping Monkey Spaz is going to get around to doing this game. Where are we? Now, one of the things I did notice, you might be able to, fill me in on this if you know. But you seem to just be able to use the arrow keys and the enter, and that's it. And I think you can actually rename files and things in there, and that's about it. There's no page up, page down. I've tried everything. I'm not sure if this is going to be at the bottom. Let's just have a quick look. It could be there. It's not that. Psycho.tap. I think it's that. Now you see, if you choose a top tap file, nothing's happened. All that's happened is gone back to the game I was already playing, and it's still. I think it's probably still working. I think it's the computer's turn, isn't it? Yes. But if you press reset on the side, you get to basic. Now that tape is still sort of there as far as the DivIDE is concerned. That's what's selected. So if you press load, bang, it's up. Just wondering why there's no 128k music on that actually. I think I've probably loaded the 48k version because that file was pretty small. There is a 128k version, it's got some really good music. Anyway, I don't want to spend too much time focusing on that. I'm trying to think, let's try an SNA, I'll show you an SNA. No idea what that is. But you can see, it's just loaded instantly, it's just copied it straight out of, off the, straight into RAM, effectively. I'm not sure what this is now. How do you play this too? This looks like Joe Blade to me. Could be one of the follow-ons from Joe Blade, I don't know. I guess it's Codemaster's game. It looks very much like Joe Blade to me. Is this one of these where you press down? Yeah, you press down to go through the doors even though it's at the top, which is a bit weird. But yeah, that's pretty cool. Anyway, right, I'll just go back to the menu. What I'll do is I'll just move the camera across and I'll just show you some of the manual, actually, just talk about a few of the features of this. Right, so if we have a quick look at the manual now, there's some stuff at the top tells you how to prepare your compact flash card. It's suggesting using Windows XP and, you know, basically disable all your hard drives on your BIOS, connect up the compact flash card. You need an adapter, obviously, because you're not going to be able to connect a compact flash card straight to your IDE cable without a, you know, sort of suitable IDE to compact flash adapter. There are other ways of doing this. I forget how I did it now, actually. I think I downloaded some software that allows you to format FAT16 and stuff, and that worked okay. So you don't necessarily need to do that, but it's a solution, you know, it works. But while we're on the subject of that, it's worth buying, you know, buy the one from him. It's only about 15 euros or something, but it comes, like I say, with all the software on it, loads of demos, loads of utilities. It's full to the brim of everything you need, really, and 90% of game or 95% of games that you might want to play are there. There's just one or two that I found that aren't the 128 versions, or they're just a bit glitchy, but most 95% of them are okay, I would say. So, but it's worth buying one of those. Don't try and buy one yourself. You know, you may buy. It was worth me buying these. So, you know, buy yourself a couple of extra ones, because what I've done with these is split my entire ZX Spectrum ROM collection over these two. And in fact, part of it's on the one from Lotharek as well. I fit the whole lot. It's like 3.5 gig of files or something, so I've got the whole lot there. So it's very easy then just to, you know, swap the cards and just load what you want. But buy one of those from him at the same time. It's well worth the 15 euros. It really is. So there's a bit about troubleshooting. Something interesting worth pointing out here. There's I'll just see if I can zoom in so you can see this. One or two games. I think they struggle with the memory management on the +2, the way it's set when the DivIDE copies the file across or whatever. And from what I understand, because I did have a quick look at this address, the 32765 address, and it seems to be the memory. It's to do with the memory controller, I think, on there. So you basically, you know, you're using this out command. You press extend, symbol shift and O to get out, and then you type in 32765,48 and hit enter, and you'll just say OK 0,0 or something, and then load your game, and it works. But there's very few that you need to do that on, just like Jetpack, and I found one or two others. I think 19 was one of those games that you needed to do that on as well. So that's that. So apologies there, battery ran out. I just had to quickly put the cable on, which is what you can see here. So on the next page there, you've got the jumpers for this. I'll try and zoom in just so you can actually sort of see this as I actually go through it. But you'll see the first jumper here is the joystick port saying, so yeah, I think is that switch 2, S2. Yeah, so joystick activity LED. And the joystick mode, so this, you know, you can switch the LEDs off, or you can toggle between Kempston and Sinclair. And an interesting point with that I'll make as well is, don't be under the illusion if you set it to Sinclair that you need an actual Sinclair joystick, because if you do connect to Sinclair joystick, you'll find it'll crash the thing as soon as you move in a direction. It's because you're shorting probably +5 to something or ground to something where it shouldn't be doing. So don't use a Sinclair joystick. This whole interface here is designed to plug into like a Cruiser, a Zip Stick, you know, an Atari 2600 joystick, a C64 joystick, Atari, you know, that Atari standard, if you like, the standard 9-pin joystick. So you don't need to use one of these, you know, with a grey thing. If you plug that in, that's not going to work. You're going to actually potentially maybe even damage it if you're not careful. I know that because I've tried that on this, and I tried it on the what's it called? I've got another joystick interface as well, which I'll do a giveaway for, because I ordered that with a 2K11. I think it's called a Space Invader or something. It's a board that sort of sits in between the Spectrum and the DivIDE and gives you, you know, a joystick port just like this does. So of course that's surplus now. I don't need that because obviously I've got the one with the 2K14 on it. So I will do a giveaway. I need to think about how I'm going to do that, but yeah, so keep your eyes peeled for that if you want one of those. The next bank of switches here, S3, is the firmware selector. So this is really nice. This is a really nice feature, and I didn't know that this came with this, because one of the things that I found from reading up on the DivIDE is there are different firmwares you can get. You know, the FATware is what you've seen, that allows you to navigate the card there, select an image, you know, hit enter, and obviously that supports various file types, you know, Z80s, SNAs, .taps, etc. But then there are other firmwares you can actually get. There's more than the two listed here. I think there's another 2 or 3. There's Residos, which isn't listed here, which is, you need medium sort of, you know, ability really to use that. It's lots of command line stuff. There's Exydos, which you can see there, that is on here. That's one of the ones that are supported. what's the other one? MDOS3, I think it is, which doesn't, obviously it isn't on here. But that one, the MDOS3, you need pretty good skills really. It's a lot of command line stuff. It's lots and lots of command line stuff. But you know, I think it will support them. I could be wrong. You might be able to flash this to be able to replace some of these banks with whatever you want. I could be wrong. But in any case, you've got probably what you would need out of the box here, and you've got the Firmware, and you've got a couple of other options. You've got the Exydos and Demfer, which is not one that I'm familiar with. Desktop emulator files runner for C. There we go. So that's what that is. It might be very similar to Firmware. I don't know. But the really nice thing, and I didn't realise this until I came to print this manual off a few minutes ago, and that is that it has a test ROM built in. Utility tests your 48/128 RAM and tape input. So that is really cool. Now I've swapped the RAM out on this previously, but as part and parcel of the problems I had with the 2K11 board, I actually went as far as swapping the RAM a second time. I unplugged, unsocketed not really unsocketed, but took the RAM out of the sockets and put some other RAM that I had in the sockets, thinking that maybe I've got a RAM problem. Maybe that's why I'm getting all this graphical stuff going on with with 2K11 when I was testing that. So anyway, long story short, like I say, I'm not sure what state the RAM is in there. I've had the odd thing going a bit strange and the odd crash. So I will run that just to put my mind at rest that the RAM that's in there at the moment is okay, because I think some of it is actually the original RAM that was originally in this before I swapped it out, minus the 2 chips that I've replaced. So, and it was a bit questionable, the quality of that RAM that was in there. So that's really, really, really useful. It's worth getting one of these just for that. If you do a lot of repairs as +2s, and you've not got a diagnostics cart or something, it's worth getting one of these for that. Because DRAM is not the easiest thing to test unless you've got a dedicated DRAM tester. So yeah, that's really nice. That I'm pleased with that. Thanks for that, Lotharek. That's a brilliant feature. And then the final block of chumpers here, as you can see, DivIDE mode settings. So and this, use this to configure basically based on what system you've got. And it's important that if you get one of these, just have a read of this first and just check how they're set versus the system you've got. And the other thing I would suggest you do as well, if you order one of these from Lotharek, which I'd recommend anybody does, if you've got 50 quid spare for a birthday or something, order one of these, and when you send the email to Lotharek on the order, just make a note, let him know what model you're planning to connect this to, and he'll probably just as he did for me, switch these accordingly, so it's configured right out of the box and you don't have to mess around with it. It could save you a bit of heartache really, and a bit of messing around, but yeah, as you see, sort of there's a setting there for the 48K model, the 128 +2 grey, which is what I've got, and it does warn you there, do not use the setting on a +2 +3, so yeah, that warning, I'm not sure whether that means something bad will happen or whether it just won't work, but yeah, it's worth doing this, it's worth checking this, get it right from the start. And then the next one, setting for 48 128 +2 grey, under the clones. I'm just interested in wondering whether that's a typo, because do not use this setting on a +2A +3. DivIDE system is disconnected. Oh yeah, it's a different option, that's all it's saying. Yeah, so it's the same, the top one's for +2, the next one's for +2 where they're both down, and it's basically saying that it puts it in a mode where you're enabling the reflection of the EEPROM, and enable all RAM mode. And then there's more settings below, as you can see here. You've got a setting for the 128 +2A +3. Don't use it on the other models, obviously, and then you're probably going to have the programming bit at the bottom again here. The final setting, yes it is, yeah, there you go. Yeah, puts it enable reflashing of EEPROM, enable all RAM modes. So that's pretty much that. So we've just got a page here that just outlines a bit about Firmware, the test ROM, test 128 KB memory, so that's cool, and it tells you it must be the one from the original that came from Amstrad or something, because it's very similar, because it's going to be the different colours there that will designate where the fault is, or whether you've got a fault. Test first video RAM, that's interesting as well, so you can test the video RAM, test the fast RAM, and the tape tester. So yeah, that's brilliant. There's not much more to say about this other than, if you've got a Spectrum, you really must have one of these. It's an absolute must-have, and highly recommend to get one from Lotharek. So check out the links to his website, have a look at his other products as well. It's the same chap who does a lot of different expansion, and add-ons and upgrades and things for a lot of these retro systems, like the Atari ST. I've had a NetUSB from him that gives you a USB mouse and a USB port, and a sort of an RJ45 network Ethernet port. Also had the H2, what's it called, the HXC floppy emulator. It does a lot of those as well. He manufactures, I think, 3 or 4 different models of those, internal and external models. Various pricings there. I think the cheapest one you can get is about €40 or something, which is really good for an SD, replacement for a floppy drive. And they'll work on things like Amstrad CPCs as well, and the Spectrum Plus 3 probably, I would think, if it's wired in the right way. So yeah, have a look at his website, and not much more to say really, other than I hope you found that interesting. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.